50 frames, only one winner. Welcome to the Warframe tournament, round 1. Today, we take all 50 frames and match them up as they fight it out to come out on top. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new, my name is llBonkll, and today we're doing a Warframe tournament bracket. I want to make it clear that I know this is almost 100% not the most efficient way to find the very best frame. But on the other hand, this is super fun to do, so I'm doing it anyway, and you're gonna have to deal with it. The frame matchups were chosen by me, trying to pair them up with similar frames, but you'll notice as we go along that it got harder to pair up the similar ones, and toward the end the matchups are kind of just what was left. If you want to be part of choosing the winners of the next few rounds and the matchups as well as the champion of the whole entire bracket, the best way is probably to sub, I think, so you can see the community posts. I'm really not that sure about how that works. Also, if you're interested, check out my Discord server in the description down below. If you're looking for a Warframe clan, you can let me know there and we'll get you into the one I run. Anybody's welcome in both the Discord and the clan. So let's get into how this is going to work a little more in depth, shall we? Each frame has been placed into a head-to-head on the bracket with another. There are 25 frames on each side. The first 24 matchup winners were chosen by the community, and the right side of the bracket's 24 winners will be chosen by me. There are 2 frames that were given a pass to round 2 because of how the bracket is set up. I'll give a brief explanation into why each matchup had the outcome it did, and then for some of them I'll show some comments from supporters of the winning frame, and because for some of these I was surprised, and people were able to let me in on a few things that made me understand why they won. Today, that's pretty much all that's going on, as we're only doing round 1 of the tournament. This, I will say, is because I'm trying to stick to somewhat of an upload schedule for you guys the best I can, and if I was to poll the community for every single matchup in this first round, it would not come out. It would be a very long time, because it does take a while to get these polls, both having enough people voting for them and having enough people even see them, because if I spam too many out at a time, then you're only going to see like the one I put out 3 polls ago and you'll never catch up. So I had to kind of space them out, and so we only got the first half of round 1, but for future, every round will be matchups decided by the community. Alright, so that being said, instead this will be a multi-part series of videos, and once they're all out, there'll be a playlist with all the vids, and probably at the end of this video it'll be like one of the things that pops up or whatever. But so if you're here in the video's lifespan later, go check it out. Alright, let's head into our very first matchup. Beginning our tournament, we got 2 expert looters.
Round 1, fight!
Necros v Korra, both incredible frames that can be taken into endgame content, but one must fall for the video to move forward. So let's take a look at how the poll turned out. And yeah, unlucky for Necros, as Korra seals in the win pretty easily with a huge gap between the numbers. Necros didn't even stand a chance, I guess. For why, I think most people will be able to guess. Korra Prime not only came out recently, giving some kind of hype around her, but she has insane damage potential compared to Necros, who many players think is only good for looting. So yeah, Korra took the dub because of her pure versatility compared to the zombie man. But I want all of you guys dissing Necros for only being good at looting to take him into a survival steel path mission. He's actually really good as a tank. For the comments from the community on this one, I'm just gonna show the good one where this random guy called out Necros getting absolutely demolished almost right after the poll went out. Okay, so the show must go on. Who's making their way into the arena next?
Round 1, fight!
Revenant v Sevagoth. The demons of the night battle it out in the polls, with only one being a winner. And who is it? Well, again, probably easily guessed, maybe not. Although very good, Sevagoth is beaten out in the bracket by the immortal monster Revenant, a super powerful frame and definitely worthy of taking the win here. Rev can literally be unkillable and is insane in endgame content. Although his 4 is bad, his other 3 abilities make up for it easily. He's just insane all around. And while Sevagoth isn't bad or anything, he's just nowhere near as good as Rev. Rev is a god. There's not really any more info needed here because Rev easy mode moves on to the next round. So let's move on to the match I've been waiting for, because I need to redeem myself from my tier list video, and I got a good bit to say here.
Round 1, fight!
Inaros v Hildren comes into the game next. Both frames I put in my boring tier, but for one, I regret it. And obviously that one I regret isn't booty ass Inaros, the worst frame ever in the game. No, it's the winner of the matchup I regret putting in boring tier now. Turns out Hildren is nutty, and also not boring. And as you can see from this poll, the community should have been in way more of an outrage from the disrespect that I gave to the shield monster. She actually has insane potential, and I'm glad she won. When I said I had a lot to say, I was kind of lying, with most of what I'm about to say coming from a helpful sub who left in the comments a bunch of info on nasty Hildren builds. To be more specific, 2 builds that with the Helminth make Hildren nuts. And these 2 abilities that you guys should try out are Chroma's Electric Ward and Voracious Metastasis. A Helminth ability, not a Frames ability for the Voracious one. For Electric Ward, it counts energy spent on casting abilities as incoming damage. As well as by lowering your efficiency and strength through Blind Rage, you can multiply your damage by a nutty amount. And I'm a no mathematician, but number go up, that's good, so do that. And for the other one, Voracious Metastasis, it counts shield spent as energy spent, and with Hildren's crazy shields, you can grant your allies crazy energy as well. And in this commenter's words, kicking out Trinity levels of energy. So yeah, Hildren slides smoothly into the next round, taking dumbass trash Inaros out of the bracket. See ya, idiot. Let's move on so I can get the Sang Inaros taste out of my mouth. I was excited for this next one, with most of these frames being incredibly new to the game at the time of this poll, and yes, it may have likely skewed the results slightly, but it was definitely worth it to see how the poll turned out between Stynax v Haro.
Round 1. Fight!
Now when this poll was released, Stynax had not been nerfed yet, but I don't care, he still looked really good. Haro is a well loved and used frame for a long time, and Stynax the insanely powerful newbie. So who won? Well, the poll says Stynax makes it to round 2. Now I'm gonna be honest here, at the time of writing this, I'm still experimenting with Stynax, and he is very, very new, and I already love him. His 3 is the craziest thing ever, and although his 2 is definitely super good, as well as his 4 being very good, I'd rather be non-stop throwing his spear with the 1. I'm just addicted to spamming that ability, kinda like how I like spamming Haro's 1. And don't get me wrong, Haro is insane, and one of my favorite frames for a very long time, just because of how great he can be when you invest the time and resources into him. And even he's useful in Eidolons. But Stynax kicks him out of my favorites and replaces him completely. Stynax is awesome, and that's that for this matchup, with Stynax moving on through. Here we go again. Both of our next matchups suck.
Round 1. Fight!
Mag versus Vauban. Hey, get it? I suck. Okay, let me forget I made that terrible joke and show the poll of who takes the trophy in the matchup here. Mag wins. I'm actually pretty surprised by this one, being an avid Vauban user. But Mag won fair and square because of her extra bit of versatility in missions. The comments weren't that great explanation-wise here for the community, because actually most of them were like Vauban supporter comments. Mag just didn't get any love comments-wise. But there was one guy. One guy made a comment that I'd like to show and talk about. Although he doesn't say who should win exactly, and in fact doesn't make really a decision in the comment, he talks about how he would use these different frames in different situations, with him taking Mag in if he wants big damage and ragdolling enemies, whereas if he just wants to do the ragdoll thing, he'll use Vauban. And I mean, I feel like he should have just said Mag wins, because it sounds like he's saying Mag has more to give. And I think that's the reason Mag wins, because it is harder to master Mag synergies, and I think it's a good point to make there, is that she has that extra bit of power, but you need to figure out how to take it and use it. So, Mag moves on, goodbye Vauban, you will be missed. Just like how our next matchup has a frame that everyone misses the OP version of.
Round 1. Fight!
Wukong versus Mirage. Rip the Monkey, but Mirage is a worthy contender. Sadly, Monkey is just too widely loved by so many that he takes the win here, and it's a fair win as well. Wukong just has so much to offer even after the nerfs, and will most likely never be useless or unused. He has insane damage potential and crazy movement. Sadly, his 4 sucks because of the stance, but Wukong nonetheless is a super powerful frame, and for sure one that should be moving on. Nothing here from the community comments wise, but I think it's alright. Most people would have guessed the Monkey moves on to round 2 anyway. Sleep well, Mirage, maybe next time. Following that, we have a match of 2 absolute powerhouses, with many fans behind each all willing to fight it out in the comments for who should be taking this win, with the fight between Nezha and Garuda.
Round 1. Fight!
Personally, I think Garuda should win, but the results are seen here. A devastating loss for us Garuda fans, but an absolute win for the Nezha fan. Although close for a while, Nezha was able to pull a little bit ahead and take the spot in our next round. Nezha deserves this spot though. He has some crazy movement and survivability as well as huge amount of damage. Garuda is very good as well, basically being OP Wolverine, but she is a little tougher to learn in my opinion, and that's the reason I'm going to attribute to why Nezha might have taken this win. As well as that, Garuda is also a lot harder to obtain. But let's look at some community opinions about this matchup. This guy mentions how good Nezha is for general use compared to Garuda, having that mentioned great survivability. Another person points out on the side of Garuda that while Nezha is very powerful and very useful, he believes that Nezha only makes up for lacking aspects of a player's playstyle, like movement and survivability. Whereas Garuda adds something to your missions, having on-demand heals and slash procs. Very good points for both sides, and again, both incredible frames. But it looks like the Wolverine in this matchup is the Wolverine we saw in Logan, and Nezha is gonna move ahead. And so will we with our next matchup. But first, real quick, we gotta fill in this free round 1 pass slot, and that spot is gonna be given to Mesa. I think she's a very worthy contender to be given this pass, and would most likely have easily made it to round 2 anyway. And while I'm here, let me real quick throw in that free pass frame on the other side, with Wisp moving on ahead to round 2 without a battle as well. Pretty much unmatched in the world of supporting. Wisp also for sure deserves this easy free pass. Alright, now back to the real matchups.
Round 1. Fight!
Chroma v llBonkll. 2 elemental masters, but there can only be one that moves on to round 2, and the poll shows that the elemental dragon moves his way on up. Although if it were up to me, llBonkll would win. I think llBonkll is better, but not up to me here. It seems that Chroma's recent problems have not faltered his support throughout the community, and that allowed him to pull through to the next round. Chroma at one point was very useful and a staple for Eidolons for a very long time, but now, although not as good, he still has some pretty good capabilities in a lot of mission types. He's got access to all the elements, which can be useful, you know, and as well as that, he's got great survivability with things like his scales. An all-around decent dude. But again, I really wish llBonkll would have won. Rip the alchemist. He seems to have drunken his own potion. Goodbye, Mr. llBonkll. Hope you get a new kidney. Who's up next? I can't see him.
Round 1. Fight!
Oh, that's why. Here comes Avara versus Ashe. Oh god, why do I keep making these trash jokes? Please help me. Okay, so Ashe and Avara, both invis peeps, great for similar things. But again, I must repeat, only one can move on. And that, according to your fellow players, is Ashe. I really hoped he would win. I hate Avara. I know lots of people like her, but I think it's pretty fair to say that Ashe is just much better when you're going for evisceration and stealth. Avara might have the stealth thing down, but evisceration wise, she could use a little help. Ashe also has fun armor strip shuriken, so there he goes on to round 2, leaving Avara alone on her zipline. No comments to mention for this one. I gotta say, probably one of the more boring matchups. I'm sure there'll be more of these kind, but they all get a chance to continue. And this time Ashe makes the cut. Who's gonna be cut next? Let's find on out. Our next bout is between 2 community loved frames, and now they must choose who to let go and who to boost ahead. These 2 frames are Rhino versus Nidus.
Round 1. Fight!
As someone who loves Nidus and hates how boring Rhino feels sometimes, I have to say I'm very happy with how this poll turned out. As you can all see, Nidus takes the dub super easily, demolishing Rhino like it was nothing, and he completely deserves it. Although pointed out by a few comments, Nidus is tough when your team is killing everything. When and if you can get him built up in stacks, he's better than Rhino in every way, and one of the few frames that will pretty much be scaling with you throughout missions. Nidus is cooler. And although also cool, Rhino just can't keep up with the parasitic master of survival. And once again, we have a winner moving forward, with Nidus leaving Rhino with the other rhinos in real life. Extinct. Okay, wait, that was a little brutal. Let's move on. Come on, quickly, come on.
Round 1. Fight!
2 healers! Only one good enough to continue, and the community has made it clear from this poll that the champion support in this matchup of Oberon versus Trinity is Trinity. Although lots of comments that wanted Oberon to take it away, the votes were taken and he was left in the dust. I agree with this choice completely. Trinity just has so much more to offer for your team and is even useful in endgame content. Oberon isn't bad, don't get me wrong. I actually really enjoy using my Oberon Prime, but Trinity is just so versatile and too powerful when you understand her kit for Oberon to stand any chance. Surprisingly, no comments to mention here. Most were actually pro Oberon, trying to pull him back ahead in the poll. But it was a futile effort, as Trinity easily makes her way further up in the tournament, knocking out Oberon sadly. But here we go. The next matchup marks the arrival of our last community choice poll, at least for round 1. The Punching Boys.
Round 1. Fight!
Baruch versus Atlas. Both decent frames, but I'm almost 100% sure everyone knows who deserves this win and who took this win, with the poll showing that Baruch absolutely destroyed Atlas. Atlas fans are sad, but Baruch just has insane potential with his 4, as having that insane amount of damage at your disposal with no energy cost is just incredible. I love playing the Monkman. Massive elemental damage, and with an augment for his 4, he gets even more powerful. And that's the most obvious reasons why Baruch decimates Atlas in this matchup. Atlas just doesn't stand a chance in the endgame content when compared with Baruch's gargantuan potential power-wise, and his huge fun factor. No comments to mention for this one as well, but I think I mentioned enough on why Baruch should blow Atlas out of the tournament any day of the week. So that's it for the first half of the tourney's round 1, with all those winners moving on up. But now we're going to head over to the right side here, where we'll be choosing the winners as objectively as I can for the next 24 matchups. Next 24 matchups. There's always going to be some kind of bias or lack of knowledge that might affect the outcome, but I'm certain I know enough about these frames to be 99.9% sure in my chosen winners. And of course, it is going to be 100% my opinion though. So I'll be objective as I can, but in the end, there's going to be people that disagree, and that's okay. Real quick, before we move on ahead with the video, I want to ask you to please go on down and leave a like. A sub would also be incredibly appreciated. Lastly, why don't you guys leave a comment on who you think is going to win the whole tourney? I'm really interested this early in the tournament to see the differing opinions of the community on who is truly the best of the best, at least in the framing of this tournament. As I mentioned before, a tier list is probably a way better way to know who is the best, but I already did that, and so have a million other people, so we're doing this, and I think it's more fun. Alright, thanks for listening to my spiel. Let's get moving on to our next matchup of the right side.
Round 1. Fight!
Protea versus Ember. Not even going to be a close one, guys. I'm being honest. When I was making these matchups, I pretty much already had made up my mind that Protea was taking this win almost 100%. Although very good, Ember just doesn't even hold a candle in any way to the pure power and fun of Protea. Using her 1, 2, and 3 makes everything die on your screen, and although her 4 isn't used very much, Revenant proves that having a 1 ability that isn't as useful doesn't really bring you down all that much. And for that reason, the powerhouse named Protea time jumps on ahead to round 2 of the tournament. So what matchup is next? Well, one I'm kinda unsure about.
Round 1. Fight!
Limbo versus Frost. This one was very hard for me to choose the winner of. The reason for that is I despise both of these frames. There was a lot of bias here, but I tried to put it aside, and I think Frost is insanely boring to play, and all the homies hate Limbo for just being annoying even if he's powerful. But that being said, I'm gonna give it to Frost. He's gonna get the win here. For the sole reason is that I'm trying to pull my bias out of this, and although Frost is boring to me, he does have some really good potential that allows for runs in even endgame content. Limbo, on the other hand, is a very situational frame, and although useful, Frost will almost 100% be making a bigger difference in most missions if you know how to build and play with him. And by the way, I don't know how to build or play with him because I avoid Frost, but after putting him in my boring tier on my tier list, a lot of angry Frost groupies began intensely typing about how OP he can be and how he's actually the best frame in the game and explaining everything. So I feel like I got a good grasp without having to play him. And okay, you can think he's the best one in the game, Frost people. It's okay. I personally doubt he'll be winning the whole thing, but he does move on to round 2, freezing Limbo, who stays stuck in the losers of round 1. Next up comes 2 hack and slash type frames, with one being really good and the other one being Excalibur.
Round 1. Fight!
Valkyr versus Excal. Valkyr wins this one. I shouldn't even have to go very in depth for this, and in fact, I'm not going to. No explanation here, just play both frames and come back to the video, and you'll understand why Valkyr 100% is the winner here. Move into round 2. Bye bye boring sword man. Here we are, the matchup of the worst. Okay, maybe not, but in my view, they are some of the worst, besides Agarbos.
Round 1. Fight!
Yreli versus Grendel. Now, I hate the dumb quest to get Yreli, but if I'm being objective here, she's gonna easily take this matchup. She's actually really fun to play and decently strong with a good build. Grendel, on the other hand, does roll, and other than that, boring and bad. And I don't think I've seen anyone playing Grendel in a very, very long time. And I don't think anybody will be pissed that the skateboard tsunami woman will be moving to round 2. Grendel was too fat to walk to the next box, I guess. See you later. Good luck beating literally anyone else, Yreli. But the following bout will be one that I'm betting some people will disagree with.
Round 1. Fight!
Geyer versus Banshee. Okay, before I tell you the winner, I'm gonna do a little explaining. Banshee is kinda useful nowadays. She's useful for liches and the one-shot crit, and her silence is very powerful. But other than that, she's got nothing. Maybe her 4 with the augment, but even then, she's not so good. But Geyer isn't insane by any means either, and that's why I wasn't so sure about this. But I went into some matches with both, and I found that Geyer was not only more fun, but much more powerful. Her extra crit ability is almost infinite, and just chucking around electricity everywhere makes you feel like you're goddamn Palpatine. It's super fun. Definitely better electricity powers than Volt, and that's why I'm letting Geyer take this one and move on to round 2. Once again, Banshee's good, but Geyer slightly edges her out with more power and definitely more fun factor. So goodbye Banshee, come on through Geyer. If you disagree with this one, please explain in the comments because, again, this is probably the one I was the most unsure about when picking. And so that aside, let's move on to the one I had an insanely easy time picking.
Round 1. Fight!
Loki versus Octavia. While both able to go invis, they're not so similar other than that. Loki does invis and Octavia does everything, including the invis. Like everything. Kills, survivability, fun, everything. And although lots find her boring, I disagree. I like playing her, and I think she's almost 100% better than boring invis Loki for almost every single mission type. Not to mention how much better Octavia is in endgame content. I really hope Loki gets some kind of rework, as it seems that they keep releasing new characters, or not characters, frames, and he's being power crept out of existence by just the sheer amount of better and more useful frames, and even many better invis capable frames. So Octavia makes her way to round 2, and Loki gets stuck behind. Uh-oh, here comes a matchup that no matter what way I pick, it will result in a good bit of angry people.
Round 1. Fight!
Saren v Titania, both insanely good frames and useful for everything. I recently started to look more into Titania after the tier list and some people were very mad at me, but Saren is also really good, and with the release of the new update the other day, both frames got even better, with the new mods that came with the Archon release. And so it doesn't even help one side to look into those. So here I am in purgatory trying to figure out who's better, and we had to pick a winner. So who did I choose? Well, I'm gonna go with Titania, purely because she has a little bit more versatility in missions. They're both almost just as powerful as each other when looking at their full potential, but Titania is just more useful in every mission type, whereas Saren in something like Capture just wouldn't be even close to as efficient as her. And don't get me wrong, I am very sad to see Saren go. I like playing Saren more than Titania, but one must fall for the other to continue, and today, the one that deserves to move on up seems to be Titania. Next up is Zephyr versus Caliban, and yeah, not so close in playstyles.
Round 1. Fight!
But I'm just gonna go through this one quick by stating simply that Caliban stands 0 chance and Zephyr wins this 100%. He moves to round 2. Zephyr, round 2. There you go. Let's go on ahead. Alright, this next matchup is one I have a whole video on that you should check out after this one.
Round 1. Fight!
Gauss versus Volt, as the video goes much more in depth into the contrasting and compared parts of their kits, as well as pretty much everything you want to know about these two. And in the end, only one could be the winner of that video. And I'm gonna spoil the ending real quick for who won, since it has to happen for the tourney to continue. Gauss is better, and he wins barely, and moves on up here. If you want to get a better explanation of why I think that, go check out the video. So yeah, move up, Gauss, goodbye, Volt.
Round 1. Fight!
Nova v Gara. For this one, I'm sure you can tell we're getting to the point, like almost completely, where the matchups of the frames just aren't similar at all. But they're all involved in the tourney, so some don't get as fair of a fight. For this fight though, I'm actually having a tough time making a decision. Both frames are amazing for a lot of activities, but I'm gonna have to go with Nova here. She's just too good, and the best part of Gara is an ability you can Helmet, which also helps out Nova a bit. Nova has entertainment with portals, map control with her adjustable speedy zone, and survivability and power with the right builds. And Gara has a lot of those things too, but all just slightly worse, I think. And if it wasn't a tourney, I would say they're very close to equal. But Nova's moving on, and Gara is gone, because it is a tournament. This next one, I'm sure you'll be able to guess if you've been watching the other vids on my channel, so be prepared.
Round 1. Fight!
Zaku versus Equinox. Yup, who's gonna win? I'll give you 1 second. Zaku, baby. Bias ain't shit. Zaku always wins when I pick. See you later, Equinox. You never fucking stood a chance. Zaku has everything. He's got the power. He's got the survivability. He's got the 100% armor strip. He's got the speed. He's unstoppable. So yeah, Zaku goes to round 2. And just so you guys aren't worried about thinking that you might know who's going to win the entire tournament, after this round, there will be enough frames eliminated that all future winners will be picked by the community. So don't worry, Zaku will be in your hands soon. Treat him right. All right, let's move on to our very last matchup.
Round 1. Fight!
The 2 frames left after I already paired everybody up are Nyx and Hydroid. Yeah, I mean, like, if you were to compare frames, you definitely wouldn't pick these 2. But I figured it was an easy one to leave these 2 at the end because Hydroid sucks and needs a rework. I'm sorry, Hydroid mains, but everything he does, another frame does a million times better. And Nyx, although needing a good bit of help as well, please DE, I want her to be good, she is still better than Hydroid by over a mile. No debate at all in my mind. And for that simple reason, Hydroid is so fucking trash. Nyx will be moving to round 2. And so will we, as the polls for round 2 will begin after this video is released. Thank you everyone who's made it to the end. I love making these videos and having some people that seem to want to come back and keep watching. It's a great feeling. So I hope you guys continue to enjoy, and if you're new and enjoyed, why don't you sub? Also, join on into the Discord in the link down below and chat with me in the community about Warframe or whatever you want. Thanks once again. Make sure to find a way to see my polls so you can participate in future voting, and I will see you guys in round 2. Good night.